All right, welcome back to the shop, everyone, for another episode of Gunfockery with Parker, or From the Bench, or whatever we're calling this segment. Today we are improving a rifle. It's going to be a Ruger M77 Mark II in 22-250. I know what you're thinking. How could you possibly improve upon a gun like this? And I'm sure that you're going to tell me about it in great detail down in the buy, sell, and trade section down below the video. Well, the improvement that we're going to make came from Parker O. Ackley. No relation. He had some thoughts on this a great number of years ago, where he thought the improvement that could be made is putting a bigger shoulder on that so we can fit more powder into it so that we can have an even hotter laser beam that turns prairie dogs into bologna mist. Now, from time to time, we get customers coming into the shop wanting us to Ackley out their chamber, and they wonder why it costs as much as it does. Like, you're just moving it a couple thousands. Well, yeah, we are, but it's in the wrong direction. That bigger shoulder that P.O. Ackley came up with doesn't just go forward, it comes back too. The standard headspace gauge that you use for 22-250, or if you're improving an 06, 30-06, whatever it happens to be, that go gauge now becomes your no-go gauge. The Ackley chamber is about 4,000 shorter than your standard one. So in order to achieve this, we're going to have to pop the barrel off, and we're going to have to take a full turn out of it. And that's where the money is, because we are basically starting over from scratch. Hey, can I come watch you while you work on my gun? Absolutely not.
Great.
All right, now that we've got the barrel broken off of our action, and you've seen how the sausage is made and why I don't let customers watch me work on their own guns, we've got it inside the lathe, lathe, it's French, and we found the center of the universe. So we've got to take one full rotation out of this because we want all the factory markings to line up where they were before we started. And it can be our little secret. So Ruger uses 16 TPI, 16 threads per inch on their barrel extensions. And you can tell by the way it is. So if we want to take just one rotation or one thread off, that's 1/16, 1 divided by 16, which is, go ahead and put your boots back on at 62 thousandths. I can tell because it says so right there. Not only are we going to be taking it off the back side of here, right there at the shoulder, but we also have to take it off the back of the chamber as well. And when that's all said and done, this whole thread extension right here should be 695 thousandths, because it says so right there. I also measured off of this before I began, and I measured off the action itself. Gave me 695 thousandths. It's the distance from the front of the action to the forwardmost part on the bolt, minus 10 thousandths. Once all that is complete, we're going to stick our reamer in there and force the chamber, again, about that 62 thousandths, a little more, a little less, until our new Ackley Go gauge is sticking out of here 130 thousandths. Says so right there. I also measured. Now, because we're going from a standard chamber to an Ackley Improved chamber, there's going to be some slop in there. We're going to be stacking tolerances, and there's going to be a little bit of guesswork going off of our precision ground, our ground Ackley Go gauge. So we're going to leave it a little bit long and just start walking it in until the bolt closes. So here we go. Eyes, ears, move your beers. All right, so just out of curiosity, I wanted to see if the action would still go back on, and it does. It's going to be another good day. Had a whole string of good days this year. And look at that, the bolt even closes. Now we can get on with reaming. All right, so we got our new Ackley reamer put inside of our floating head reamer holder. So some people have hypothesized that you can just use a Jacobs chuck for this, and you can if you're not too concerned about things like head space or concentricity. These guys are wildly expensive, but they do have a little bit of float in them so that they follow the channel of the barrel and follow the lands and grooves down and make it more or less straight without having to worry about having an exact zero, because this thing rattles around and moves a little bit. This will give us a lot more precision and also keeps us from destroying a barrel. Now, to know where we're going, we first got to figure out where we are. Now, we need 130 thousandths of protrusion on our head space gauge, and right now we're at about 215, which gives us around about 84 thousandths. But again, I don't do math in public, and certainly not before noon. So we're going to stop a bit short. We're going to try it at 60 thousandths and see where we are. As always, proper lubrication is the key. And we're going to set ourselves to 0. That is just as far as this will go in without getting out the big hammer. So we're going to use this as a chalk block to set our 0. Nope, still not cut. All right, 50, 65. All right, so we are about 35 thousandths short on head space. But again, I don't trust my math, neither should you. In fact, don't trust anybody, ever, about anything. Look both ways before entering a roundabout. All right, good. We're not there yet. As I closed the chamber and then I spun the action on, just kind of finger loose, not trying to crush anything, not trying to put any gouges in the chamber. And then I get my handy dandy feeler gauges out here. I put that in between the barrel and the action, and that'll tell me approximately how much further I need to go. And it's a little bit more than 25 thousandths, so I can feel pretty confident taking 25 thousandths. So we're a little bit long on headspace, measured again, took another 7 thousandths out. Right now we're measuring at 132 thousandths, which is 2 thousandths more than what we calculated. What's 2 thousandths amongst friends? All right, so we've got our standard Ackley, our Ackley go gauge, which you can almost tell, it's almost good enough to see. And it closes, which is great, but really we want it to not close on our go gauge from the standard 22-250. And it does not. If I really worked on this thing, I bet you I could get it to go because I went to the gym once. I'd like it a little bit tighter than that, but this is also just on their hand loose, and we need to leave about 1 thousandths or 2 for crush. So that chamber is there. It's complete. We can wash our hands with that and never speak of it again. The only thing left to do is polish it, and we're going to put a small chamfer right at the mouth of the chamber, just to make feeding a little bit easier and make sure that we don't have any burrs. .320 grit seems to work best. To get a much shinier chamber than that, if you've ever put oil between 2 pieces of glass and gotten them stuck together forever, you'll understand why going any smoother or to a higher polish, and that may cause you trouble. There we go. We're ready for assembly. So back at the 20-ton press, we got the barrel torque back on. Same operation as taking it off, just in reverse and a little less sledgehammering. Now that everything's on there tight, we want to double check our headspace. Again, one of these is the go gauge, one of these is the no-go gauge, and I forgot which one, and at this point I'm too afraid to ask, but as long as it closes on one and not the other, I suppose we can be happy about that. All right, so it doesn't close on the first one. I'm going to go ahead and assume that that's our no-go gauge. And it closes on the other one, so I'm going to call that a win. Let's get the trigger back in this thing and test fire it. Let's get the trigger back in this thing, make sure that I'm all paid up on my health insurance, and then we'll test fire it. All right, so we got it all back together, and miracle of miracles, the factory markings are more or less where we left them. Now that we have a brand new Ackley Improved chamber in this, you're wondering where to get ammo. You can't just roll down to Murdoch's Big R or Bubba's Gun Shop and pick up 22-250 Ackley Improved. You got to make it yourself, and you got to make it starting with just regular old 22-250. That 4 thousandths that we talked about earlier, with the difference between the go gauge and the no-go gauge and how the chamber is shaped now, well, that's for a very important purpose, because this isn't going to stop right on the shoulder of the chamber. It's only going to get hit right here at the bleeding edge of our Coke bottle taper. So that's why that's so important, is it holds the cartridge in there and keeps us from pressure spiking and doing, unsafe things. Fingers crossed. I did this off camera, but when you're doing this at home, because I know so many of you do have lathes and like to do your own home gunsmithing and still have most of your fingers, make sure that you pass a couple of patches through the barrel, get all that chambering detritus out of there before you go and test fire it the first time. You'll thank me later. One more just for giggles. So I left one unmolested so that you can see the Ackley not only has a very, very different looking shoulder, but it is quite a bit fatter all the way down. Depending on how much Brandon edits out of the video, you'll be able to see me screwing around there for the better part of half an hour, just trying to figure out where my zero was. And that's why, because I was taking a little bit of material all through here until I could get up to here and finally start changing the way the Coke bottle shape looks. And there we go.